Welcome back, guys. I'm Jay, and today I'm going to talk about something that is so important because it's made me so very angry. That's right, it's time to talk about it. Destiel. Supernatural is one of those shows that appears once in a generation. It reaches out, it collects a community, and it builds a family. We've seen it before with Star Wars or Star Trek or Firefly, Buffy, DC, and Marvel, even K-pop. But never before have I ever seen such a hostile and antagonistic relationship between fandom and creator. One so dismissive and ignorant. One that's definitely caused a great deal of harm, even amongst the great deal of good that the supernatural world has brought. Supernatural has a long history of mistreating women, people of color, and other minorities. I mean, characters don't exactly stick around. Sam, Dean, and Cass have all died several times, but they've always come back. Death lost all its meaning in the supernatural verse, unless you were a minor character. At least, until now. You have to understand that Supernatural is a very male-centric story, which is a problem in and of itself. But with the lack of additional characters, you really only have the relationship between Sam and Dean, because until the addition of Cass, you had nobody else to play the brothers off of. And then the creators were shocked how fast fans jumped on something outside of the incestual ship. And let me tell you, Destiel exploded. Honestly, what did they expect? There is a distinct lack of a female presence, or any other presence, throughout the entire show. All of the main characters have been male. And the people of color and women introduced to the show were usually met with a very quick and grisly death. And the queer characters, they didn't fare much better. The first gay character was killed off within 5 minutes of her introduction. We're talking about Lily Baker in Season 2. And then in Season 3, we have Corbett. He was a gay teen used for comic relief, and then killed. And then in Season 5, we have two men that are presumed to be best friends. And it's not revealed until the last 5 minutes of the episode, and very uncomfortably, that they're a couple. And this was also played for comedic effect. We also got one good LGBT character that was absolutely phenomenal, and that's Charlie Bradbury. I have an entire episode on her wasted potential as well, because she was killed off, and that was not necessary. So let's talk about that profound bond between Dean and Cass, and why fans are both elated and absolutely enraged. The sexual tension between Cass and Dean, it built from day one. And this was completely unintentional on the part of the creators, the writers, and the actors. But it was a product of the undeniable chemistry between the two characters. And it quickly became one of the most important relationships on the entire show, with the exception of the brothers. Really, Cass became a Winchester. He was loved. Outside the brothers, he is the longest running character on the show. And that's saying something, not only because Supernatural likes to kill off every character they create, but the next one in line actually has less than half the appearances that Misha Collins does. And when the writers realized the absolute popularity of Destiel, they decided to write into it, to create a buzz. They specifically wrote it into episodes, or teased it online and at cons, but they had absolutely no intention of follow-through. Fans demanded that they make good on the subtext, and grew increasingly frustrated when there was a lack of payoff. Some fans walked away, they left. And it doesn't help that some of the original scripts were changed and adapted. Like this moment, with a line that was an originally, "I love you."
Oh, Cass! I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. Cass, it's me. We're family. We need you. I need you.
The relationship between Cass and Dean was heavy with hope and expectation. Dean's sexuality was kept ambiguous. And there are so many queer references and bi jokes that are at Dean's expense. Sam isn't the one that's stumbling around when he's being flirted with or winking at other men. That's all Dean. And Sam once pointed out that Dean was kind of butch and overcompensating. Even on the DVD commentary, it's suggested that there's a potential for love everywhere. And let's not forget every moment between Cass and Dean that points to something just a little bit more. Mixed messages were constantly thrown at the audience. So, what did the showrunners, producers, execs, and writers expect, other than for the consummation of feelings to grow even louder? Then any mention of sexuality was banned at cons. That doesn't exactly create an open and inclusive space. WB executive Chad Kennedy said, "I support the idea of a bi lead. But on this specific show, it is not our intention for these. If it served the story, I would support it." Which is disturbing and troubling, because it suggests that a character's sexuality needs to serve a purpose, which is exactly what's wrong with sexuality on TV right now. Why can't a character be gay or bi or trans because that's who they are? Why does it need to serve a purpose for the plot? Why does it need to define them as a character? Why can't a character be gay or bi or trans because that's who they are? Why does their sexuality need to serve a purpose for the plot or define them as a character? Why does it have to be that the appearance of queerness or someone's masculinity being called into question is the butt of the joke? Like it's some sort of nightmare that another dude hits on you. I mean, big whoop. The writers and the producers got sick of the growing outcry, and Cass was often separated and off on his own, away from the brothers, to try and push back that insatiable desire for Destiel that was growing within the ever-restless fandom. We have that infamous line in the episode of fanfiction, "I have my version and you have yours, and that's okay." Well, guess what? It's not anybody's right to police and grant rights to fans on how they interpret and interact with a show. You don't get to rewrite the history of the subtext written into the mythology of the show, or patronize your fans for their interests. The writers of the show are overwhelmingly straight white males, and in their mind, romance and action don't go together. Romance is still explicitly marketed to women, and seen as more feminine in this hegemonic gender binary we live in. Men aren't allowed to express emotion or feel vulnerable, and anyone who does is seen as outside of the norm and labeled as gay, like it's some sort of nasty disease. The entire genre of sci-fi and fantasy adventure has issue with writing romance into a story, or even a complex female character. So imagine how it would go adding in sexuality to the mix. But the show can't hide behind the idea that a male-dominated audience, which Supernatural is not, doesn't want to see romantic relationships. The foundation is already there. But the producers are so afraid of crossing that line because of the perceived reaction of the hetero audience, and that reaction will be negative. Imagine what hypermasculine Dean Winchester coming out as bi in a male-dominated show would do for TV. The show missed a huge opportunity at openness with Dean's sexuality and Destiel. Bisexual representation is nearly non-existent, or it's played off as harmful stereotypes, or erased completely. We're not asking for much, just to be seen. We want to see a reflection of ourselves on screen, and not as a minor plot point or bait to lure us in. I'm so sick of this no homo culture. Supernatural doesn't need to solve the problem of lack of representation in television. They aren't obligated to, but they do need to stop playing both sides. And stop giving false hope to people like me who want to see real change in how sexuality is handled in television. But that brings us to the latest in the news of the world of Supernatural. Cass confessed. This is huge. Or at least, it would be. If it had been handled with any modicum of decency or empathy. Cass confesses, only to immediately die. Which sends the wrong message. Especially when he prefaces it with saying that it's something that he can't have. It labels having feelings for the same sex as something that is wrong, or something to be punished for. It's an unrequited gay love that becomes the bury your gays trope. You'd think after the death of Charlie that they would have learned, except they are still one of the biggest perpetrators of the bury your gays trope because they haven't learned. This isn't fan service or a worthy storyline, but straight up homophobia. Especially with Cass immediately throwing Dean away as if to say, you can't love me too, or you too will be cursed. This scene is absolutely disgusting and disturbing, and it makes me so angry. Because not only do we deserve better, but so do the characters and the story being told. With all the scary things that the brothers and Cass have faced, apparently their fear of the gays was bigger. We deserved better. Supernatural deserved better. Destiel deserved better.
Who are you?
I'm the one who gripped you tight and raised you from perdition.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
So that's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least learned something. And if you liked my content, well, check out my channel. I post new videos every 10 days. Until next time, cheers.